You owe it to yourself to stop lying about your effort. Because deep down, you already know the truth. You know when you did give your best. You know when you hit snooze instead of getting up. You know when you said you were tired, but what you really meant was you were uncomfortable. Nobody had to call you out because your conscience already did. The problem is that you don't have potential. The problem is you keep exaggerating how hard you were working. You tell people you were grinding. You post quotes about hustle. You talk about how badly you want it. But when it's time to put in that lonely work, when nobody is clapping, when nobody's watching, the effort disappears and you feel it. That quiet disappointment you carry is not coming from failure. It's coming from honesty. It's coming from knowing you could have done more, but chose not to. You owe it to yourself to stop confusing activity with progress. Being busy does not mean you are being effective. Running around all day does not mean you are running toward your purpose. You answer messages, you scroll, you attend meetings, you talk about plans, but at the end of the day, you ask yourself what actually moved the needle. Real effort is uncomfortable. Real effort drains you. Real effort demands sacrifice. If you are always comfortable, always relaxed, always entertained, then you are not giving real effort. You already know the difference between when you pushed yourself and when you played it safe. Stop pretending those two things are the same. You owe it to yourself to stop saying you tried when you did. Go all in. Trying is not showing up halfway. Trying is not quitting when it gets hard. Trying is not stopping because it did. T worked the first time. When you truly try, you exhaust every option. You stay late. You wake up early. You study when others are sleeping. You practice when others are relaxing. You don't need motivation when you are committed. Commitment shows up even when feelings disappear. If you are honest with yourself, there were moments you quit early, not because you were incapable, but because you were uncomfortable. And that discomfort is the price of growth. You owe it to yourself to stop blaming circumstances when discipline is the real issue. Not everyone starts at the same place, but everyone has the same 24 hours. You may not control where you came from, but you control what you do with today. Excuses sound logical, but they keep you stuck. You can always find a reason why it's not the right time, why the odds are against you, why someone else has it easier. None of that changes the fact that your future depends on what you do daily. The world does to reward excuses, it rewards execution. And deep down, you know when you are using circumstances as a shield to protect yourself from accountability. You owe it to yourself to be brutally honest about your standards. Your life is a reflection of what you tolerate. If you tolerate laziness, distraction, and inconsistency, that is what you'll see in your results. High standards are not about perfection. They are about refusing to accept less than your best. When you raise your standards, your excuses automatically fall apart. You stop negotiating with yourself. You stop settling. You stop lowering the bar just so you can step over it. The pain of discipline is temporary, but the pain of regret stays with you. And you already know how regret feels because you have carried it before. You owe it to yourself to stop performing effort and start living it. Effort is not something you announce. It's something you demonstrate. It's not loud. It's consistent. It's not dramatic. As daily. Nobody needs to know how hard you're working except the results. When you truly give effort, you don't need validation. You don't need approval. You don't need someone to believe in you because your actions already do. And the truth is, the person you are really trying to convince is yourself. When you know you gave everything, you sleep differently. You walk differently. You speak differently. You owe it to yourself to understand that effort compounds. What you do today may not show results tomorrow, but it is building something. Every rep, every page, every hour, every sacrifice is adding up. The reason many people quit is because they expect instant results from long-term work. They start right before the breakthrough because they think nothing is happening. But something is always happening. Your discipline is shaping your character. Your consistency is sharpening your mindset. Your struggle is preparing you for responsibility. And if you lie about your effort, you cheat yourself out of that transformation. You owe it to yourself to stop waiting for the perfect moment. Perfect moments dawn. Create effort. Effort creates moments. You don't become confident before you act. You become confident because you acted. You don't feel ready. And then start. You start. And then you become ready. Every time you delay, you reinforce doubt. Every time you act, you build belief. The version of you that you admire is not waiting. They were working. They were showing up even when it's messy. Even when it is unclear. Even when it is hard. You owe it to yourself to look at your reflection and tell the truth, not with shame, not with guilt, but with responsibility. You are not behind. You are just undercommitted. You are not unlucky. You are just inconsistent. You are not lacking talent. You are lacking sustained effort. And the moment you stop lying about that is the moment your life begins to change. Because honesty creates power. Accountability creates momentum. And real effort creates results that no excuse can ever replace. You owe it to yourself to outgrow your old habits because the life you want cannot be built with the behaviors that kept you stuck. The same routines that once felt comfortable are now costing you time, energy, and potential. What used to feel normal is now the very thing holding you back. You can't keep asking for a new future while repeating old patterns. Growth demands separation. Separation from habits that numb you, distract you, slow you down, and keep you satisfied with average. You already know which habits are stealing from you because every time you do them, you feel it afterward. That quiet feeling of wasted time. That voice telling you that you should have done better. That is not guilt. That is awareness trying to wake you up. You owe it to yourself to stop romanticizing habits that no longer serve you. Staying up late scrolling, procrastinating important work, avoiding difficult conversations, choosing comfort over challenge, calling it rest when it's really escape. Those habits did appear overnight, and they won't disappear overnight, but they must be confronted. You can grow what you want. Confront. Every habit is a vote for the type of person you are becoming. Every repeated action is shaping your identity. If your daily habits don't align with where you want to go, then no amount of motivation will save you. You owe it to yourself to understand that habits don't care about your goals. Habits only care about repetition. You can dream big and still live small if your habits are small. You can talk about discipline and still lack it if your habits don't support it. Your habits wake you up in the morning. Your habits decide how you respond under pressure. Your habits control what you do when nobody is watching. And if you don't intentionally replace old habits, they will automatically pull you back into old results. That's why change feels so hard, because your habits are designed to keep you familiar, not fulfilled. You owe it to yourself to stop blaming willpower and start building systems. Willpower fades, habits remain. The strongest people, Aaron, they're the most motivated. They were the most structured. They don't rely on feelings to take action. They rely on routines. If your environment supports your bad habits, your intentions what? You stand a chance. What you see daily matters. Who you listen to matters. What you consume matters. If you want to outgrow old habits, you must redesign your environment so that growth becomes the default, not the exception. You owe it to yourself to accept that outgrowing habits will make you uncomfortable. You will feel bored. You will feel lonely. You will feel resistance. That doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It means you're doing something new. Old habits feel good because they are familiar, not because they are good for you. Discipline feels hard because it challenges the version of you that wants to stay the same. Growth requires you to disappoint your old self. It requires you to say no to what feels good now so you can say yes to what feels right later. You owe it to yourself to stop waiting for habits to break on their own. Time does not break habits. Decisions do. Years can pass and nothing will change if you don't. Change what you do daily. The version of you in the future is being built right now by the habits you repeat today. If you keep doing what you are doing, you already know where you will end up. And if that future does excite you, then your habits must change. Not tomorrow. Not next year. Now. You owe it to yourself to be patient with the process, but ruthless with the standard. You won't become disciplined in a day. You won't replace years of patterns in a week, but you can commit to not quitting. Missing once is a mistake. Repeating it is a hack. A consistency does mean perfection. It means persistence. Every time you choose the better habit, even when it's small, you are weakening the old one. Progress is happening even when it feels slow. The mistake is stopping because you don't see results fast enough. You owe it to yourself to realize that some habits must die for you to live fuller. You cannot carry everything with you into your next level. Some behaviors, some routines, some comforts must be left behind. Growth is not addition. It's subtraction. You don't become better by adding more. You become better by removing what's holding you down. And sometimes the hardest habits to let go of are the ones you used to cope. But healing requires healthier coping, not deeper avoidance. You owe it to yourself to stop saying, this is just how I am. That sentence is a trap. You are not your habits. You are the one who created them, which means you can recreate them. Identity is flexible. Behavior is trainable. Discipline is learnable. The only thing fixed is the decision to stay the same. Every disciplined person you admire once struggled with the same excuses, the same distractions, the same resistance. The difference is they chose growth over familiarity repeatedly. You owe it to yourself to understand that your future self is watching your daily choices. The future you is depending on the habits you build today, the confidence you want, the success you want, the peace you want. They all live on the other side of consistent habits. You don't rise to your goals, you fall to your habits. And when your habits change, your direction changes. Not overnight, but inevitably. The moment you decide to outgrow your old habits is the moment your life begins to shift, because your actions start matching your potential, your discipline starts catching up to your dreams, and your daily life begins to reflect the person you know you are capable of becoming. You owe it to yourself to choose discipline over motivation, because motivation is unreliable and discipline is permanent. Motivation shows up when things are easy, when you feel inspired, when results are visible. Discipline shows up when you are tired, when you are doubting yourself, when nothing seems to be working. If you wait to feel motivated before you act, you will spend most of your life waiting. Feelings change. Energy rises and falls. Discipline is what carries you when emotions disappear. The people who win are not the ones who feel like it every day. They are the ones who do it anyway. You owe it to yourself to stop letting emotions control your actions. Some days you feel confident. Some days you feel insecure. Some days you feel powerful. Some days you feel weak. If your effort depends on your mood, your results will always be inconsistent. Discipline is the ability to act regardless of how you feel. It is choosing what matters most over what feels best in the moment. When you build discipline, you stop asking yourself how you feel and start asking yourself what must be done. That shift alone changes everything. You owe it to yourself to understand that motivation is a reaction. Discipline is a decision. Motivation reacts to success, praise, progress, and excitement. Discipline is decided in advance. You decide who you are going to be before the pressure arrives. You decide your standards before temptation shows up. You decide your schedule before excuses appear. That is why disciplined people look calm under pressure. They already made the decision. There is no debate happening in their head. The work is already planned. You owe it to yourself to stop chasing motivational highs. Watching videos, reading quotes, and listening to speeches can inspire you, but inspiration without execution is entertainment. You don't need more motivation. You need more structure. You need routines that don't care how you feel. You need commitments that force you to show up. Discipline turns ordinary days into progress. It builds momentum quietly. It does de-announce itself. It accumulates. You owe it to yourself to accept that discipline feels boring, repetitive, and uncomfortable. There is nothing glamorous about waking up early, training when you are sore, studying when you are tired, or working when you'd rather relax. Discipline is not exciting, but it is effective. The life you admire is built on 1,000 boring days done right. The reason many people quit is because they expect discipline to feel good. It does too. It feels necessary. You owe it to yourself to stop negotiating with yourself. Every time you negotiate, the weaker version of you shows up to argue. Discipline removes negotiation. It creates rules. Rules reduce stress. When something is non-negotiable, there is no internal conflict. You don't argue with yourself about brushing your teeth. You just do it. That is how discipline works. You make the important actions automatic. When discipline becomes routine, progress becomes inevitable. You owe it to yourself to understand that discipline builds self-respect. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, your confidence grows. Every time you break one, it shrinks. Confidence is not built by hype. It is built by follow-through. The reason many people, Don, believe in themselves is not because they lack talent. It's because they don't trust themselves. Discipline restores that trust. It proves to you that you can be relied on. You owe it to yourself to stop thinking discipline limits your freedom. Discipline creates freedom. When you are disciplined with your time, you gain more time. When you are disciplined with your money, you gain options. When you are disciplined with your health, you gain energy. Lack of discipline always leads to restriction. Discipline opens doors that motivation can't. It prepares you for opportunities before they arrive. You owe it to yourself to be disciplined when no one is watching. That is where discipline is built. Not on stage, not online, in silence, in solitude. In the moments where quitting would be easy and unnoticed. Your private discipline determines your public results. What you repeatedly do in the dark eventually shows up in the light. You don't. Rise in big moments. You reveal what you practiced in small ones. You owe it to yourself to realize that discipline compounds. One disciplined day leads to another. One completed task makes the next one easier. Momentum is built through action, not emotion. You don't need to feel strong to act strong. Acting strong makes you strong. Over time, discipline reshapes your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries and start seeing yourself as someone who does. You owe it to yourself to choose discipline today, not when you feel ready. A readiness is a feeling, discipline is a commitment. The future you want is waiting on the actions you are avoiding right now. Discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you want to become. The moment you stop relying on motivation and start living by discipline is the moment your life begins to stabilize, your progress becomes consistent, and your potential finally has a structure strong enough to support it. You owe it to yourself to walk away from comfort, because comfort is the silent enemy of growth. Comfort does warn you, it does attack you, it slowly lulls you into staying the same. It tells you that you have done enough, that tomorrow is fine, that there. No rush. Comfort whispers lies that sound reasonable. And that's why it's dangerous. Nothing great grows in comfort. Everything you admire in others was built in moments of discomfort, uncertainty, and pressure. If you are always comfortable, you are not moving forward. You are standing still. You owe it to yourself to recognize how comfort disguises itself as self-care. Rest is necessary, but escape is different. Comfort convinces you that avoiding difficulty is protecting your peace. In reality, it is stealing your future. There's a difference between recovery and avoidance. Recovery prepares you to go back into the fight. Avoidance keeps you out of it entirely. When you constantly choose comfort, you delay growth and call it balance. But deep down, you know when you were resting and when you were hiding. You owe it to yourself to understand that comfort keeps you addicted to familiarity. Even when your current situation is not fulfilling, it feels safe because it's known. The mind prefers familiar pain over unfamiliar growth. That is why people stay in routines they hate, jobs that drain them, habits that limit them. Comfort does mean you were happy. It means you were used to it. Growth requires you to step into spaces where you dawn, feel in control, where you are not the best, where you might fail. That uncertainty is not a sign to stop. It is a sign you were expanding. You owe it to yourself to stop waiting until discomfort feels convenient. It never will. There will always be a reason to stay comfortable. The timing will never feel perfect. Walking away from comfort requires a decision, not a feeling. It requires you to move before confidence shows up. Confidence is built by surviving discomfort, not by avoiding it. Every time you choose the hard path, you prove to yourself that you are capable of more than you thought. You owe it to yourself to accept that discomfort is the price of growth. You don't get stronger without resistance. You don't get wiser without mistakes. You don't get disciplined without struggle. The pain you feel when you are stretching beyond your limits is not punishment, it is preparation. Discomfort is shaping you for responsibility you not ready for yet. If you avoid discomfort, you avoid the strength required for your next level. You owe it to yourself to stop seeking ease and start seeking progress. Easy choices lead to a hard life. Hard choices lead to an easier life. Comfort feels good now, but costs you later. Discipline feels hard now, but rewards you later. Every choice has a cost. Comfort just hides the bill until it's too late. Growth demands that you pay up front. It demands effort, sacrifice, and patience. But what you gain in return is freedom, confidence, and self-respect. You owe it to yourself to walk away from environments that keep you small. Comfort is not just habits. It's people, places, and conversations. Some environments reward mediocrity and punish ambition. Some people feel threatened when you change because your growth reminds them of what they were avoiding. Outgrowing comfort may mean outgrowing certain circles. That is not arrogance, that is alignment. You can elevate your life while staying loyal to what? It's keeping you stuck. You owe it to yourself to stop confusing comfort with safety. Safety comes from capability, not convenience. True security is knowing you can handle challenges, adapt to change, and recover from failure. Comfort makes you fragile. It weakens your ability to cope when life gets hard. Discomfort strengthens you. It teaches you resilience. It trains your mind to stay steady under pressure. When you walk away from comfort, you're not risking your safety, you're building it. You owe it to yourself to be uncomfortable on purpose. Choose the workout that challenges you. Choose the conversation you've been avoiding. Choose the work that stretches your skills. Choose the schedule that demands discipline. Growth doesn't happen by accident. It happens by intention. When you consistently choose discomfort, it stops feeling like suffering and starts feeling like progress. What once scared you becomes your new normal. You owe it to yourself to remember that comfort will always be there. It's patient. It waits for you to get tired, discouraged, or distracted. Growth, on the other hand, requires urgency. Opportunities don't wait forever. Time doesn't slow down because you're unsure. Walking away from comfort is not a one-time decision. It is a daily choice. A choice to prioritize who you could become over who you currently are. You owe it to yourself to step into discomfort now, because the longer you stay comfortable, the harder it becomes to leave. Muscles weaken without resistance. Minds shrink without challenge. Dreams fade with action. Discomfort keeps you alive, alert, and evolving. When you finally walk away from comfort, you begin to feel something powerful again. Purpose, momentum, hunger. And that hunger fuels growth, sharpens focus, and pushes you toward the life you know you are capable of creating. You owe it to yourself to become consistent, not emotional, because emotions change faster than results. One day you feel unstoppable. The next day you feel drained. One day you believe in yourself. The next day doubt creeps in. If your actions rise and fall with your emotions, your progress will always be unstable. Consistency is what carries you through the days when passion is low and confidence is quiet. It is not exciting, but it is powerful. It is the difference between people who start strong and people who finish strong. You owe it to yourself to stop letting temporary feelings make permanent decisions. Feeling tired does not mean you are incapable. Feeling unmotivated does not mean you should stop. Feeling discouraged does not mean you are failing. Emotions are signals, not commands. They tell you how you feel, not what you should do. When you obey every emotion, you give up control of your life. Consistency puts you back in charge. It allows you to act based on values, not moods. You owe it to yourself to understand that consistency is a form of self-respect. Showing up for yourself daily builds trust. Every time you do what you said you would do, you strengthen your identity. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you weaken it. Confidence is not built by hype. It is built by reliability. When you know you can count on yourself, you stop seeking validation from others. Consistency creates quiet confidence that does need approval. You owe it to yourself to stop overreacting to single days. One bad day does not define you. One missed workout does not erase months of effort. One mistake does not cancel your potential. Emotional thinking magnifies setbacks and minimizes progress. Consistent thinking zooms out and focuses on patterns. Growth happens over time, not in moments. The danger is quitting because of a bad day instead of correcting and continuing. Consistency keeps you in the game long enough to win. You owe it to yourself to detach your effort from your mood. Some days you will feel excited, some days you will feel bored, some days you will feel frustrated. None of that should determine whether you show up. Professionals don't wait to feel like it. They perform because they're standard. Treat your goals like a responsibility, not a hobby. When something matters, you do it even when you don't feel like it. You owe it to yourself to accept that consistency looks ordinary. It doesn't go viral. It doesn't get applause. It looks like doing the same thing again when nobody is impressed. It looks like repeating fundamentals when you want to try something new. It looks like patience when you want instant results. The reason consistency is rare is because it is not emotionally rewarding in the short term, but it is unbeatable in the long term. You owe it to yourself to stop searching for breakthroughs and start building streaks. Breakthroughs are the result of accumulated consistency. No one wakes up successful overnight. They wake up after years of showing up when it was boring, hard, and unnoticed. Streaks build momentum. Momentum builds confidence. Confidence builds belief. And belief fuels even more consistency. The process feeds itself if you stay committed. You owe it to yourself to manage your emotions without letting them manage you. Emotions are part of being human, but they should not be in charge of your discipline. Learn to feel without reacting. Learn to pause without quitting. Learn to be uncomfortable without escaping. Emotional maturity is not the absence of emotion. It is the ability to act wisely in spite of it. Consistency is emotional maturity in action. You owe it to yourself to realize that consistency beats intensity. Going all in once feels powerful, but showing up steadily is what changes your life. Intensity burns out. Consistency builds endurance. You, Don, need to do everything today. You need to do something today and keep doing it. Small actions repeated daily outperform big actions done occasionally. This is how real transformation happens. You owe it to yourself to build routines that protect your consistency. When life gets busy, routines keep you grounded. When motivation fades, routines keep you moving. Design your day so that showing up becomes automatic. Remove friction from good habits and add friction to bad ones. Make consistency easier than quitting. Structure supports discipline when emotions are unstable. You owe it to yourself to stay consistent even when results are invisible. Progress often happens quietly. You are growing before you see proof. Skills are sharpening before recognition arrives. Strength is building before confidence appears. Quitting too early is the most common reason people never reach their potential. Consistency is trusting the process before the evidence shows up. You owe it to yourself to become the person who shows up no matter what. Not because you feel good. Not because it's easy. Because it is who you are. When consistency becomes your identity, emotions lose their power over your actions. You stop starting over because you never stop. And over time, that steady commitment reshapes your life, strengthens your mindset, and turns your goals into outcomes that finally match the effort you've been given all along. You owe it to yourself to finish what you start, because unfinished work becomes a weight you carry everywhere. Every goal you abandon, every promise you break to yourself, every project you leave halfway takes a piece of your confidence with it. You may move on, but your mind remembers. That quiet voice that questions your abilities built from all the times you stopped when things got hard. Finishing is not just about results. It is about identity. When you finish, you prove to yourself that you are someone who follows through. You owe it to yourself to stop chasing new beginnings as a way to escape discomfort. Starting feels exciting. It comes with hope, energy, and imagination. Finishing requires endurance. It requires patience when the excitement fades. Many people are addicted to starting because it allows them to feel productive without being accountable. But real growth lies at the end, not the beginning. The reward is not in the idea, it is in the completion. You owe it to yourself to understand that resistance always increases near the finish line. The closer you get to completion, the louder doubt becomes. Fatigue shows up. Distractions multiply. This is not a sign that you should stop. It is a sign that you are close to something meaningful. The mind looks for escape when it senses transformation. If you can push through this phase, you unlock a new level of self-trust that changes how you approach everything else. You owe it to yourself to stop quitting when progress slows. Early progress is fast because everything is new. Later progress is slow because refinement takes time. Mastery is built in a slow phase. This is where most people quit because they mistake patience for stagnation. Finishing demands that you stay committed even when improvement is subtle and recognition is absent. This is where character is formed. You owe it to yourself to separate your worth from temporary results. Finishing does not mean everything works perfectly. It means you stay until the process is complete. Failure is not quitting. Quitting is quitting. You can adjust, learn, and correct without walking away. When you finish, even if the outcome is not what you expected, you gain experience, clarity, and resilience. Those rewards are impossible to earn if you stop early. You owe it to yourself to build momentum through completion. Every finished task strengthens your belief in yourself. Every completed goal makes the next one feel more achievable. Momentum is not built by ambition. It is built by execution. When you develop the habit of finishing, you stop doubting whether you can handle long-term commitments. You begin to trust yourself under pressure. You owe it to yourself to stop waiting for perfect conditions to finish. Conditions are never perfect. Life will always interrupt. There will always be obstacles, delays, and unexpected challenges.
That one? Okay.
Finishing is not about having ideal circumstances. It is about adapting and continuing. The people who succeed are not the ones with the easiest paths. They are the ones who refuse to stop when the path gets messy. You owe it to yourself to accept that finishing requires sacrifice. You may have to say no to distractions. You may have to endure boredom. You may have to push through self-doubt. Finishing demands focus. Focus demands discipline. Discipline demands sacrifice. But the sacrifice is temporary. The pride of completion lasts far longer than the comfort of quitting. You owe it to yourself to recognize how finishing changes your mindset. When you finish something difficult, you expand your self-image. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries and start seeing yourself as someone who completes. That shift affects how you speak, how you plan, how you approach challenges. You no longer feel long journeys because you've proven you can reach the end. You owe it to yourself to stop carrying the guilt of unfinished dreams. That guilt drains energy. It clouds judgment. It creates hesitation. Finishing clears that mental space. It allows you to move forward without baggage. Closure is powerful. It gives you peace. It gives you confidence. It gives you freedom to start new things without the weight of old failures holding you back. You owe it to yourself to finish, even when no one is watching. External validation fades. Applause is temporary. The real reward is internal. It is knowing you kept your word to yourself. It is knowing you did. T quit when it would have been easy. That integrity becomes your foundation. When life challenges you again, and it will, you will remember that you finished before. You owe it to yourself to understand that finishing is a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. The first time is the hardest. Each time after that, it gets easier. Quitting becomes less familiar. Commitment becomes normal. Over time, finishing stops feeling like effort and starts feeling like expectation. You owe it to yourself to cross the finish line, because that is where growth is completed. That is where lessons are sealed. That is where confidence is earned. You don't need to rush, but you cannot stop. Keep moving. Keep adjusting. Keep going. Finishing is how you honor your effort, your time, and your potential. And when you finally reach the end of what you started, you step into a stronger version of yourself who no longer questions whether they can endure because they already have.